Hey everyone, welcome back to Tow for Drives, where you all know that whenever I get the chance to daily drive or live with a Porsche product for a few days, it gives me an opportunity to indulge in my automotive enthusiasm and get excited about silly little things like headlight washers painted in exterior color and other specs of the sort. But obviously the story has been no different this week, as I have been living with this 2024 Porsche 718 Boxster Style Edition, a car that admittedly I had no idea even existed until it showed up in the driveway a few days ago. But let's go ahead and quickly go through what the Style Edition actually is. And the easiest way to put it is it's a prettier version of the base 718 Boxster. It's about $7,000 more, starts just over $80,000. But I think the biggest thing and the thing that I like the most about this are these standard 718 Spider wheels. They're finished in white on this particular example. The Boxsters all come with this Boxster logo pressed into the soft top. Of course, there is also a Cayman style edition to match the Boxster. We have our badge painted in white to match our graphics package, which is also part of the Style Edition. We get these Porsche door stripes, we get a bonnet stripe, and I think overall for $7,000, I mean, it kind of brings the Boxster to life, especially the base Boxster. It gives people that would walk onto a dealer lot and just buy a silver car a little bit more of an opportunity to have something a bit more special. So this has been a little bit new for me because I have never driven a base model Boxster or Cayman. I've only ever driven GTS, GT4, GT4 RS, all of the top of the line versions of this car, and I've always wondered what it's been like to drive and live with the little base model. So let's talk about what powers the 718 Boxster Base and Style Edition. This is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged flat 4, which was a bit of a departure for the 718, the 982 generation of this car. It makes 300 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. You can have either a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed PDK like this car has, and it is rear-wheel drive. This particular car has the PTV limited slip differential. It has PASM, the adaptive suspension, and a couple of other things. Those are kind of the main performance options on this car. I'll put all the options in the description so you guys all know what this thing has. Of course, it's a Porsche. It's got all sorts of silly little things, including, like I mentioned earlier in the video, headlight washers in exterior color, which I know kind of sounds silly, but these stick out like a sore thumb when they are chrome. So I do like to see those in exterior color. But as far as practicality goes, I always like to tell people that Boxsters and Caymans are actually quite practical, and that is for one main reason, is that they have two trunks, or two boots, however you would like to say it. So we have a frunk and we have a trunk with this car. You can open those with the switch inside the door sill, or you can pull out your Porsche-shaped key and you can hold the respective buttons to open each compartment. The trunk back here is actually quite sizable. I don't know that you could fit golf clubs in here for sure, maybe like a small set, but if you're a pro golfist or something, you may want to look elsewhere or opt for a different Porsche vehicle. But I mean, for a couple bags of groceries or something, this is really all the room that you need. Coming around to the front, opening this up reminds me of my personal 987.1 Cayman S that I very much enjoy. And this is a pretty similar frunk size, very deep, very sort of cavernous compartment. So you do actually have quite a bit of storage in this car, and there are some compartments inside as well that we'll show you once we jump in there. But I just really love the Boxster as a sports car solution. It is a bit expensive, and it has just gotten pricier and pricier as the years have gone on, but I think the value is still here. I mean, being that this is a base Boxster, I mean, man, it looks the business. This is a very attractive vehicle. I think the 718 Spider wheels really set it off. But overall, the Gentian blue paint job complements everything quite well. Let's take a look inside and we'll talk a little bit about what we have going on in there. This is all finished in chalk. This car has the optional leather interior package, so this is not a text material, this is legit leather. Keen-eyed viewers will also notice that these are the optional sport seats, though we don't have the power option. They are on a seat rail for the $94,000 as tested price of this car, but the Style Edition does get you the Porsche logo on headrests as a no-cost option. So they all have that. They all have these illuminated door sills, so the Boxsters say Boxster, the Cayman says Cayman, obviously. We also get some leather touches inside. This car has the full leather package, so you know our door panels and everything are stitched, but even if you don't select that, the top of your gauge cluster and some other little bits and bobs in here do come wrapped in leather. In today's video, we're going to show you what it's like to live with and daily drive this 718 Boxster Style Edition. I have to run and get some fuel. It's only got like 70 or 80 miles to I'm giving this back to the Topher tomorrow, so I want to make sure he has enough fuel. We're going to stop by the store and we're going to end downtown to test maneuverability. Obviously, that'll be no problem as this is just a tiny little sports car, but let's go ahead and get started. This car is equipped with what Porsche calls entry and drive, which is a very new sort of technology. You don't have to stick your key in the ignition to start the car. Jokes aside, this has essentially what is a push button start, but instead of pushing a button, you turn this little switch, which I do actually appreciate because it does kind of simulate having a key in the ignition. Of course, it's on the left because this is a Porsche, so you just turn the switch to the right and the car starts. And the 2-liter Boxster surges to life with a bit of a raunchy exhaust note. We have active exhaust on this car, which you can activate by pushing the little exhaust button down here on the center console. When the Topher and I were talking about this earlier, we kind of discussed that it does sound a bit like a Subaru. But I mean, that's always been Subaru's thing, is having these turbocharged flat fours. But I think this sounds kind of like an old school Subaru. Like an early 2000s WRX or something with an exhaust on it. So I don't really mind the sound of this car. Obviously, I would prefer a flat 6, but with what it is, at least it's not electric, even though the next generation of this car is rumored to be electric. In the middle, as you can see, we have some wired Apple CarPlay. That's really no worries for me. All I need my sports car to do is go down the road and fill me with joy and also have a bit of Apple CarPlay. So this car is at a pretty good level for me. We have a bass sound system in this car, which we will be testing later. There are 3 levels of sound system: bass, Bose, and Burmester. Respectively, it's like a $900 option for Bose and a $5,000 option for the Burmester. I'm kind of happy this has a bass sound system because we'll be able to show you guys if it's worth opting for a higher end system. So we'll do that a little bit later, probably once we are driving into town. But I mean, overall, this infotainment, there's really not much to it. It's pretty old school. I don't think this car has really changed much in the last 6 or 7 years since the 718 has come out. That's kind of what Porsche does. They bring a car out and then it's just the same forever. So not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to sports cars. I think they get away with it quite nicely, and initially their products are always excellent. So we don't even have in-house navigation on this car. We'll probably just leave this on the regular screen, or maybe we'll, I don't know, should we run in like Waze or something? Excellent looking physical and analog gauge cluster here. 3 gauge pods, not 5 like you get in the 911. You can change this one on the right hand side. You can see your music, you can see your temperatures and pressures, G-force. Support here for the Sport Chrono, which is there on the dashboard. That is an optional extra for this car. Your TPMS, you can see your trip computer. I've been doing 20.7 mpg over the last 18 miles, so you know, a day worth of driving or something like that. I have put about 200 miles on this car this week, so I'd like to think I know it quite well. Let's go ahead, roll these windows up, and we will go ahead, jump on the road, and show you what it's like to drive this 718 Boxster. I think I killed a fly in the process. We have our drive mode selector here on the steering wheel. I love Porsche's solution to drive modes. Easy access to switch them on the fly. And in the middle, we have our sport response button, which basically triggers you into sport mode for 20 seconds if you need to make a pass on a treacherous road or something. You have full power at the press of one simple button. Physical climate control panel. We're going to turn the AC off because we have the top down for this video. I'll put the earmuffs on at some point, probably once we're on the highway, but we'll try and enjoy some top-down noise here without it at first. This car's a PDK. I love the way this shifter feels. It's just a very regular shifter that, I mean, we've kind of seen this since the 987.2. They've all had this similar looking shifter for the PDK. Somewhat heavy steering, but very much appropriate for a sports car, and especially one that wears this badge. We do have our sport exhaust turned to on. I'm probably just going to leave that on for the video because I want to make sure you guys have the best chance at hearing what this thing sounds like. We're also going to turn our auto stop start off. Ooh, that is a Sport Track Adrenaline. Don't see those very often. Alright, so I want to first talk about this PDK, because as you guys saw, the first time I took off, it acted like it was really dragging that clutch, kind of like somebody taking off that isn't super experienced with manual, but it does this when you're in the normal mode to kind of make your takeoff quite smooth. If you want to kind of mitigate this experience, you can obviously just stick the car into sport mode and it will take off much more aggressively. Hello to that dog in the Oldsmobile there. I guess what I'm trying to say is, pretty much no matter what the cost, this car will make sure that your takeoffs are smooth. This is a very dialed in dual clutch 7-speed transmission. Porsche has been working on this PDK for so long now, they've got it so dialed in that in every situation it acts just about perfectly. And I don't know why we are stopping here at the roundabout. I'm going to equip the earmuffs. I do hear a little bit of wind intrusion here, so let's go ahead and throw those on. Smooth passing power and honestly pretty smooth power delivery overall from this flat 4. Oh boy, we got a race car that just pulled out. Let's throw ourselves into sport. Let's go manual mode. Oh man, I don't know if we'll be able to keep up with this thing. Apologies, you probably couldn't hear my flat 4 over the bellow of that raunchy V6 in that Impala. Cars are just all in good fun. Oh man. Lightning fast gear shifts when you are in sport and manual mode. Pops and burbles on the down rev. Will get down, man. I mean, this is a base Boxster at the end of the day, and it'll hustle. Some of the noises it makes too, I mean, I'm genuinely entertained by this car, which is a really nice surprise. I mean, honestly, because obviously all Porsches have a bit of that sport sense to them. I mean, regardless of if you're driving a Macan, a Cayenne, any of the cars. They all make you feel a certain type of way. I'm just genuinely entertained by this car. Let's go into Sport Plus and let's show you a launch control. We are getting the message to refuel. Don't worry, we will be doing that. The launch control in this car, very easy to activate. Left foot brake, right foot on the accelerator. What's funny is in this base Boxster, it revs this thing to like 6,000 RPM for the launch. So let's go ahead and do it. Couple different traction control modes on this car. One press will put you into PSM Sport, and if you press and hold, that will turn your PSM off completely. I like to do PSM Sport. Gives you a little bit of slip, doesn't allow you to loop the car completely. Let's go back into regular Sport, soften our suspension. hope you guys can hear that with the top down. We are really burning up our fuel range here. Let's go back into regular. Let's put ourselves back into PSM on. And we'll jump on the highway, see what it's like to do a bit of a commute in this base model Boxster. I'm getting ahead of myself a bit here, but I can't believe how fun this car is to drive in base model form. A lot of it is kind of just the emotional nature of this car. You don't really get the burbles when you're in regular mode. You get some snaps between gears and things like that, but it's a very emotional experience driving that car, and that comes down to some of the noises that the car makes, the way it changes direction, the snappiness of the throttle response when you're in sport mode, the gear changes from the 7-speed PDK. I'm usually one to always say that I would opt for the manual choice, but in this case, man, I would find it hard to argue the 6-speed manual for this car. Obviously, if you want to save a few grand, it is a no-cost option. But for $3,000, you have an absolutely flawless dual clutch transmission in this car. And if you're buying this car for, a spouse that has no interest in driving a manual, Emily, for example, this is a nice compromise, because if this was Emily's car, I could get in this and have no problem. I have so much fun with this PDK, so I'm a fan. Let's do one little burst of sport mode one more time. I'd like to know how I knocked 36 miles off of our fuel range in about 3 miles of driving. And I just love that you're able to control this PDK with your console shifter. So many cars have gotten rid of this in favor of paddle shifters. This car has both, and I really appreciate that. The top-down experience in this car is quite nice. It's a little blusterier than I would expect, but I mean, it's like 80% of the way there. I did have to do the muffs just because I get a little bit in my right ear. I get a little bit of wind intrusion on the left-hand side here. It's pretty silent. We gotta go sport mode again. I mean, come on. And it's pretty quick. I mean, 300 horsepower isn't a ton, but it's quick enough. It's a really good amount of power, and it's honestly the exact amount of power that I like in a sports car, because it's usable. You can go through a couple gears. You can have fun when you're the first person at a set of lights, and you're not committing multiple felonies. You're not really in too much danger of being arrested. And that is what has always been so nice about the Boxster and the Cayman, is they're usable sports cars for every day. I mean, shoot, I daily drove my 987 Cayman S for months up at college before it went away for winter. Got it back out in spring and put thousands of miles on it. They're just nice little packages, and it's nice to see that even in 2024, in the year where everything is just becoming stupidly unusable and harsh and stiff, this car still can do it all. So, cool. Well, let's talk about highway manners. 80 miles an hour, 7th gear, rev just over 2,000 RPM. Wind intrusion honestly is about the same from 55 up until, we won't give the speed a name, but a very high speed, as I have allegedly tested earlier this week off camera. We have our typical Porsche cruise control here. It's a stalk that sticks out of the left-hand side of the steering wheel. I'll show you once we make pass here. Kick down, very responsive from this PDK. Pretty simple. You just push the button on the end of the stalk to activate it, and you push it away from you, and that sets it. You can pull it towards you. That will slow you down. Pretty simple and similar to what I have on my Cayman S. Now, we do not have adaptive cruise on this car, but that's okay. I'll turn it off there. But as far as just driving this car down the highway goes, it's a nice experience, you know? You've got long gears, you can sit at a higher speed and still be revved below 3,000 RPM. The sport seat in this car, optional sport seat, it's about a $500 option. It's a bit stiff, and unfortunately you don't have much adjustment. This is a manual up, down, back, forth seat. The seat back, like the backrest, is a power. It's a power backrest is what I'm trying to say, but you don't have lumbar adjustment, which means if you have a bad back, I wouldn't necessarily opt for the manual sport seat. You can opt for a power comfort or a power sport seat, which will give you a ton more adjustment. Driver's compartment is actually a bit bigger than I thought. The console does intrude a bit. Elbow comfiness, it's a little bit stiff on this car. There is a bit of give to these console and door panel parts respectively, and you are actually able to drive your car comfortably here, relaxed with your hands in these lower two spokes. So there's enough in this car, and I just realized I didn't show you some of our storage compartments. We'll do that once we stop and we're at the parking garage. I hope I remember that. But, you know, despite this being so small, there are comfort and storage solutions in this 718. I often honestly find myself kind of resting my hand on the PDK shifter. Right hand here with my elbow on the console and left hand on the door panel resting on the steering wheel. And it's a pretty comfortable way to drive this car. Seating position is just the business in this thing. Porsche always gets that right. You feel important driving a Porsche, and it kind of excuses that $75,000, $80,000 plus price tag on this entry-level sports car. And obviously, you know, they give you a very tailored experience. You're able to customize just about every single component. Let's throw ourselves back into sport, back into manual. And we're actually going to lose the muffs because we're going to be slowing down here. That's a proper noise. I mean, come on. As far as 4 cylinders go, I mean, what more can you really ask for? Honestly, if the car is able to entertain me in that way and make me laugh, it gets my seal of approval. The door panel is at an okay level for if you're an enthusiast of kind of sticking your arm out the window while you drive. A bit of a steep driveway with a pothole at the entrance. Don't love that. This being a German car, of course, our filler is on the right-hand side, but this is a Porsche, so it's on the front. Parking brake, that is a switch, electronic here, on the left-hand side. Let's switch this off. We'll go and fill this thing up. We do have a fuel cap on this car. They do give you a little spot to put it there. $5.49. That is absolute robbery here in Michigan. But whatever, we need fuel. This car also has the optional clear taillights. Actually, shoot, while we're waiting for this to fill up, I can show you guys some of the storage solutions that we have here. We have these little pockets here on the door panels that open up, not to mention these stationary pockets here on the front part of the door panel. And then over on the passenger side, in typical Porsche form, we have our cup holders that live behind this piece of trim, and they expand as well to fit larger cups. So, I mean, this is all just normal Porsche stuff that if you're a Porsche enthusiast, you guys already know about all of this. But to show people that may be thinking about getting into their first Porsche, there you go. Now you know what you can do. Not really any room behind the seats. If you have the seat kind of forward a bit, I have my hat stuffed back there right now and the earmuffs. I always get comments of people that are like, how do you look just walking around cars in public, talking to yourself, and, well, the answer is probably crazy, but stepping over the gas pump like that doesn't help my case here today. Highlighter man was staring. I'd be embarrassed to have been caught staring, it looked like. You can turn this parking brake off by yourself, or you can just begin and it will automatically disengage. Next stop today is the grocery store, and admittedly, it's one of those days where I don't actually need anything, but I want to show you guys what maneuverability is like in a parking lot and actually parking this thing in a parking spot. Steering has a bit of heft to it at low speeds. So, I mean, it's nothing that you can't handle. I'm just saying that you don't have pinky light steering. We don't really have a full suite of parking cameras in this 718. We do have a reverse camera. It's okay quality. By that, I mean it's 2017 quality. So, you kind of just get what you get here. Though I will say we do have front and rear parking sensors, which is nice for this car. When you're pulling up to a curb or something, it will beep and let you know before you're going to rip the front end of the car off. Let's set our parking brake and let's go ahead and put the roof up as if we're going to go inside. We're able to put this up at speeds of up to 31 miles per hour, which I have found is pretty standard across the lineup of all other cars with power tops. What I love about this is you hold the top button to put it up, and it also puts the windows up, so that is quite helpful. And then you can shut your car off as such. You can see how we fit into the spot here. Obviously, this thing is quite small, so it fits with no real problem. You'd have plenty of room for cars on either side of you. This gives me a chance to show you guys our roof here with the Boxster print. I mean, it's subtle, but it's one way to tell that it is a style edition. Okay. Cool. Same operation to put the top down. It's actually a separate switch in front of the top up switch. And this will automatically put your windows up as well. They're both auto down, so you can stick those down easily. All of the inputs, even just clicking the turn signal, pressing these buttons on the console. It's a very nice sensory experience living with this car, is what I should say. It's very, very satisfying. With the windows down, you guys should be able to hear a bit of that turbo spool here through the vent on the left-hand side. Plenty of fun noises to keep you entertained here in the 718. Let's stick the windows up and we'll let you listen to this bass sound system. Girl, you got me restless. I got to know, don't keep me waiting. Song alone is probably a good enough demo for you guys, but you can see that it's actually not as bad as I expected it to be. Where it really falls apart is when it starts to compensate and turn itself up when you are going higher speeds, highway speeds. It's really, really grainy, it's distorted, and listening at kind of a mid-range level like that, it sounds fine. You know, a lot of the times I've driven this car around with the music very low because I really genuinely enjoy listening to the mechanical noises that this car makes. So if it were up to me, I mean, the Bose is like a $900 option. I'd probably just go for the Bose and call it a day, because when you're already spending $80,000 with a million other options, what's another $900? So I'd probably just do that. So I've had a fantastic few days with this car. I have genuinely enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. And I'm really happy about that, because it means that I can tell you all that you should not be afraid of a base 718 Boxster or base 718 Cayman. They are still really fun cars. You have a pretty connected feel with this car. Obviously, it's not as connected as a 987 is going to feel, but as far as a 2024 goes, I mean, it's pretty hard to find anything else on the current market that drives like this car. The main reason we're ending in the structure today is because I would like to hear the throb of the flat four. So we're going to go into sport, manual. The distinct whine of just kind of the overall chassis harmonics of this Porsche and every other Porsche sports car. All right, the fun's over, and so is the video. So thank you guys all so much for watching. It has been an absolute joy driving this 718 again tonight, adding to my time behind the wheel, and an experience that I'm really happy I was able to have, to be able to drive the base model of this car and realize just how good it actually is. So do yourself a favor, go drive a base 718 before you hate on it, before you're in the comments hating on this 4-cylinder. I'm with you in the way that I would still prefer a flat 6, but you are able to get the GTS 4-liter or the GT4, the GT4 RS. There are, or I guess it would be Spider RS for the Boxster, and Spider instead of GT4. You guys all know, you know what I'm on about. But ideally for me, it would be cool to have one of these for Emily someday, and I can drive it on the side and pretend that I don't really like it that much, but deep down I'm having the time of my life. Base model 718. So cool. You can see there backup camera and sensors. We'll engage that parking brake and we'll shut this thing off. This car's done 6,700 miles. Everything seems to be holding up just fine. It has the smoker's package if that's your thing, or if you just want an outlet here to be able to charge your phone. Console seems to be fine. I think the sport seat, the bolsters and everything are still in pretty decent shape. You never know how journalists are getting into these cars. There's a little bit of a scratch there on the upper bolster, but it seems like the seat has held up. It's a little bit dirty. Of course, just with it being chalk, it's going to show more dirt, but cool. All right. And boy, is it pretty. I don't think it's quite as pretty as the 987, but I'm a bit partial to that, of course. But at the end of the day, it's still unapologetically Boxster. They've done a great job here. This generation's been out for a while. It's still just as good here in 2024. And if you want a bit of old-time rock and roll, a bit of that old kind of connected feel in a brand new car, then this is going to be one of your only choices on the current market. So thank you guys all again so much for watching. If you have any questions about the 718 Boxster Style Edition, please let me know in the comments. But that'll wrap it up for us today, and we will see you all very soon in the next video. Take care.